She thought she was selling her life to an old stranger for $3 million, but what she didn't know was that the man behind the deal was hiding a face, a past, and a secret that would change her life forever. You're watching Shock Story, where every tale leaves your heart racing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because the next twist, you won't see coming. Rain hammered against the cracked windows of the tiny apartment, each drop like a drumbeat counting down to Layla's doom. Her mother lay pale and unconscious on the couch, the faint beeping of the borrowed oxygen machine the only sign she was still alive. Medical bills stacked on the table like an unscalable mountain. Layla's hands trembled as she dialed the hospital once again, but the answer was the same: no payment, no treatment. She had tried everything, 2 jobs, selling her jewelry, begging distant relatives. Nothing was enough. That night, as the city outside drowned in neon light and stormwater, she stumbled upon an online ad in the darkest corner of a forum. Greater than, wife wanted. $3 million. Contractual marriage. Conditions apply. It sounded absurd. Dangerous. Wrong. But her mother's shallow breaths and the scent of damp plaster around her told her she had no choice. She sent a reply with shaking fingers. The next morning, a black luxury car stopped outside her building. A man in a dark suit stepped out, tall, lean, with a face hidden behind dark sunglasses. The employer wishes to meet you, he said simply. No names, no details. Layla was driven to a mansion outside the city. She was led into a library where a shadow sat in a leather armchair, back turned to her, voice deep and raspy. I am 73 years old, the man said, never turning. I have conditions. You will be my wife for 1 year. In return, you will receive $3 million, half now, half when the year ends. Layla swallowed hard. She imagined her mother smiling again, healthy, safe. I agree. A pen scratched across the paper. Her fate was sealed. But as she signed, the man in the chair tilted his head ever so slightly, and for a fraction of a second, she thought she saw his reflection in the window, young, sharp-eyed, and smirking. The wedding was private, cold, and surreal. Layla wore a simple white dress. The groom kept his face hidden under a black fedora and veil of shadow. Only the suited assistant, a lawyer, and a priest were present. No family, no friends. Afterward, she was moved into the mansion, a labyrinth of locked doors and silent hallways. She never saw her husband at meals. Sometimes she caught the faint scent of expensive cologne, or the sound of a deep laugh echoing from somewhere unseen. One night, she followed the sound of footsteps to the west wing. She saw a tall figure disappear into a room. Heart pounding, she peeked inside, but it was empty except for a wall-length mirror. In that mirror, she swore she saw not an old man, but the face of someone in his 20s, handsome and piercing-eyed, watching her. She blinked, and it was gone. Her only regular contact was Ethan, the silent assistant who delivered her half of the promised money in cash 2 days after the wedding. She used it immediately for her mother's surgery. But something was wrong. The mansion felt like it was testing her, lights flickering when she entered certain rooms, locked doors clicking open only when she touched them, letters slipping under her door at night with strange messages like, greater than, don't believe what you see. Truth wears many faces. Then, on the 10th night, she found an envelope on her pillow. Inside was a photograph, her husband, without the hat, without the shadows. Young, sharp-jawed, strikingly handsome. The note on the back chilled her. Greater than, meet me in the greenhouse at midnight, if you dare. Midnight arrived like a held breath. Layla slipped from her bed, the floorboards creaking under her bare feet. The greenhouse was at the far end of the garden, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Inside, the air was humid and fragrant with roses and orchids. And there, leaning casually against a marble pillar, was the man from the photograph. He wasn't 73. He wasn't frail. He was tall, athletic, with hair that caught the moonlight like silk and eyes that seemed to look straight into her soul. You're him, Layla stammered. He smiled faintly. Or maybe I'm not. Depends on who you think you married. Her pulse raced. Why the lie? Why pretend to be an old man? Because people treat you differently when they think you're harmless and disposable, he said, circling her slowly like a predator. The world sees what I allow it to see. She stepped back. So you tricked me into this marriage. I offered you exactly what I promised. Money for 1 year of your life. But I also wanted to see if you'd survive in my world, if you'd obey. His words were velvet and venom all at once. Before she could reply, the door to the greenhouse slammed shut. The glass panes darkened, hiding the moonlight. A voice crackled over hidden speakers, deep, old, and angry. Layla, you're not supposed to be here. The young man's smile vanished. He grabbed her hand and whispered urgently, "Run." They tore through the garden, dodging shadows that seemed to move on their own. Layla's heart pounded in her ears. They ducked into a side door and into a dim corridor lined with portraits, all of the same man at different ages, from childhood to middle age, but none older than 40. "This doesn't make sense," Layla gasped. "Who are you?" He stopped, his breath steady despite the chase. "Elias Kane, CEO of Kane Global Industries. And before you ask, yes, I'm very much alive, and very much not 73. Then who's the old man I heard in the library?" Elias's jaw tightened. "A partner. A necessary mask. You weren't supposed to know yet." The lights flickered overhead. From the far end of the corridor, Ethan appeared, but his calm demeanor was gone. His eyes darted between them. "Sir, they know. We have to move her before." A loud crash interrupted him. One of the portraits fell, revealing a hidden keypad behind the wall. Elias punched in a code, and the wall slid open, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward. "Down," Elias ordered. Layla hesitated. "Why should I trust you?" He stepped closer, his voice low. "Because the man you think is your husband, isn't the only one lying to you. And if you stay up here, you'll never live to spend that money." Her blood ran cold. She followed him into the dark. As the wall closed behind them, the old man's voice echoed through the house once more. "Greater than, Elias, bring her to me." The staircase spiraled endlessly downward, the air growing colder with each step. Dim lights embedded in the walls flickered like dying stars. At the bottom, they entered a stone corridor lined with steel doors, each marked with a number. "This place isn't part of the mansion," Layla whispered. "It's older," Elias said. "Built by my grandfather during the war. No one comes down here unless I allow it." They stopped at door 07. Elias swiped a card, and the heavy lock clicked open. Inside was a small room with a single desk, an array of monitors, and a large safe in the corner. On the screens, Layla saw every corner of the mansion, including her own bedroom, the kitchen, the greenhouse. Her stomach twisted. "You've been watching me." "Yes," Elias admitted without shame. "I needed to see if you could be trusted before I told you the truth." "And what truth is that?" He opened the safe and pulled out a faded leather folder. Inside were photographs of Layla's mother, younger and healthier, smiling beside a man in a suit. The man looked disturbingly familiar. "That's," Layla began, but her voice faltered. "That's my father," Elias finished. "And your mother worked for him, years ago. She saved his life once, and he swore to repay the debt. I intended this marriage as a way to honor that promise, but there are people who would kill you if they knew who you really are." Layla's head spun. "Who I really am?" Elias's eyes softened. "You're not just some poor girl, Layla. You're connected to something far bigger than you can imagine. But the old man, he wants that connection for himself." Before she could press for more answers, an alarm blared. The screens showed armed men flooding into the mansion. "They've found us," Elias said, grabbing her hand again. "We have to move, now." They raced through a maintenance tunnel that led to the outer gardens. But as they reached the exit, Ethan was waiting, and this time, a pistol gleamed in his hand. "Put her down, Elias," Ethan said coldly. "Ethan," Elias began. "She's the key, and you know it. You were supposed to deliver her to Mr. Vance, not play hero." "Vance," Layla repeated. "The old man." Ethan smirked. "Not old. Not young. Not who you think. He's been waiting for you since before you were born." Elias stepped protectively in front of her. "Over my dead body." "That can be arranged," Ethan said, raising the gun. In the split second that followed, Elias lunged. The gun went off, a deafening crack, and pain shot through Layla's arm as the bullet grazed her. She stumbled backward, hitting the wall. Elias wrestled with Ethan, the two men crashing into the tunnel wall. The pistol clattered to the floor, and Layla, through sheer instinct, kicked it toward herself. She picked it up, hands shaking, and pointed it at Ethan. "Let him go," she demanded. Ethan laughed, even with Elias's forearm pressed to his throat. "Do you even know what you're holding, little girl? That weapon doesn't just kill, it decides who lives." Elias slammed him against the wall, knocking him unconscious. "We don't have time," he said, grabbing Layla's uninjured arm. The helicopter's waiting. As they ran toward the outer clearing, Layla's mind spun. If Ethan was right, what did that gun mean? And why did Vance, this so-called old man, want her so badly? The helicopter's rotors cut through the night air like thunder. Elias pushed Layla inside, then climbed in after her. "We're heading to my private island. It's the only place Vance can't reach us." But as the chopper lifted off, a shadow emerged from the trees below. Tall, imposing, and somehow, wrong. Even from the sky, Layla felt his gaze pierce her. That's him, Elias muttered. Layla's breath caught. That's Vance. Elias nodded grimly. The man who's been pretending to be me, and who's been controlling this family for decades. As the helicopter gained altitude, Vance removed his hat, and Layla's blood ran cold. His face wasn't old at all. In fact, it was almost identical to Elias's, only colder, sharper, and with eyes like black ice. They're twins, she whispered. Half-brothers, Elias corrected. Born to the same father, different mothers. Vance was supposed to inherit everything. But when our father chose me instead, he found other ways to control the legacy. And me? Layla asked, voice trembling. You're the legal heir to a fortune hidden even from me. My father willed it to your mother, and when she disappeared, the claim passed to you. Vance wants that fortune, and the power it brings. The helicopter shuddered suddenly, the pilot shouting. Bullets ripped through the side door. Vance's men had arrived in their own chopper. Get down. Elias roared, pulling Layla to the floor. Through the chaos, one thought burned in her mind. I was never just a wife for hire. I was bait. The helicopter swayed violently as the other chopper closed in. Elias reached for the pistol Layla still carried. Give it to me. No, Layla said, clutching it tight. Ethan said this gun decides who lives. What did he mean? Elias hesitated, a dangerous pause. It's biometric. One pull of the trigger, and it injects a nanotech serum that either heals, or kills instantly. Our father designed it as the ultimate inheritance test. It's coded to respond only to the rightful heir. Layla's pulse raced. And you think that's me? I know it's you, Elias said. But if you use it wrong, it'll kill you instead. The enemy helicopter drew closer, a figure leaning out with a rifle, Vance himself. His voice boomed through a loudspeaker. Layla. Give me the weapon, and I'll let him live. Elias shook his head urgently. He's lying. For one long, breathless moment, Layla locked eyes with Vance. Then, without warning, she stood and leaned out of the helicopter. Catch, she called, and tossed the pistol. Vance's hand shot out to grab it, but the moment his fingers touched the grip, the gun emitted a high-pitched whine. His eyes went wide, then his body convulsed violently. Within seconds, he collapsed, limp, and fell from the helicopter into the darkness below. Elias stared at her in shock. You knew. Layla sank back into her seat, trembling. If it's coded to the rightful heir, then the moment he touched it. He wasn't the heir, Elias finished softly. They landed on the island just before dawn. Elias turned to her, his usual steel softened with something else. You have a choice now. Take the inheritance, or walk away. Layla thought of her mother, of the years of struggle, of the lies and danger. Then she met Elias's gaze and smiled faintly. I'll take it. But on my terms. Elias's lips curved into the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. Then, Mrs. Kane, let's rebuild everything. Far away, on the mainland, a shadowy figure watched the sunrise through binoculars. He spoke into a phone. She has no idea, I'm still alive. The line went dead.